it's me, Renee. I'm back, and today I'm going to talk about which books that I love. I talked in the last video about which books I haven't read yet. Well, this is about books that I love that I recommend. And yeah, I mean, Halloween is time for vampires and witches, anything that goes boo in the night. So yeah, here are a few witch books that I really love. Okay, so yeah, I said it before. I really love witch books, and then when I kind of try to find books for this prompt, honestly, I didn't find that many. So if a lot of the witch books I love, I've read from the library, or I suppose kind of also think kind of that there's a kind of thing like where yeah, I love witch books, but I feel like there's always been like many more vampire books and werewolves than witches. I feel like witches haven't really been that like huge, really. I feel like if you're 8, 9, 7, you might find a lot of witch books, but like witch books for adults and teens, feel like there's not that many of those. Now I might be mistaken here. Probably will. Probably am. Maybe what I'm trying to say is like there's maybe what I'm trying to say is that there's quite a lot of witch books, but there's few good ones. Not that I'm trying to say that I've read all the witch books out there, but because I probably haven't. But I do remember starting one series and not really enjoying it that much. Anyway, let's get to the books that I do enjoy. So first we have Demon Glass. It's kind of like as kind of representing Hexo, which is this. Okay, so this is second in the series. It's a trilogy. It's by Rachel Hawkins. It came out like between 2010 and 2012, so in that kind of YA paranormal era. This has a lot of things that kind of are kind of known from that era. It has a magical school. So like the main character in this one, Sophie. Yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, Sophie. She's a witch. But like the school that she goes to has vampires, werewolves, and all those different kinds of things. But yeah, this is kind of focused around her and her witchiness. But yeah, there's also ghosts and whatnot. And yeah, I very much enjoyed this series. It's been a hot minute since I read it, but does have a special place in my heart because I always loved witches. And when I found this book series, I found it when I was 16, and I just devoured it and loved it so much. Reread it so many times, and it has so many quotable quotes. Yeah, so it's so many quotable lines, and yeah, I feel like it kind of in a way never got that much recognition. Well, I suppose yeah, it wasn't unknown. Like I think it was kind of bestseller when it came out, but like I feel like a lot of other books were kind of talked more about than this series, and I feel like this series could have some more love in a way. And yeah, I feel like it's a kind of nice Halloween read to pick up because there's vampires, werewolves, witches, and secret societies and secrets, family secrets, and whatnot. Everything you need, of course. It has scary, scary elements to it, and everything really. So yeah. And then we had a recent read. It is Payback's a Witch. I just read this a few weeks ago. Well, a few weeks ago. I read it back in July. Okay, so maybe not a few weeks ago. Well, how do you find a few weeks? Okay, I suppose it feels recent. I read it more recent than a lot of other books. So yeah, I won't say recent. How do you define recent? And now and a long time ago. I mean, yeah. This is an adult paranormal story. It's paranormal, but it's also paranormal romance. So there's witches, but it's also and it's kind of set in a small town where there's lots of witches. But it's also people who aren't witches, and there's family history and family legacy, and yeah, kind of some secrets. But it's kind of this one I would say like it's mostly a romance story, but there's some witch in us to it. But yeah, it's still a really enjoyable story. And yeah, if you like the kind of stuff, I would say maybe like if you like practical magic, pick up this because it's kind of has the same vibes in a way, in some ways. And yeah, then we have Hext by Julia Tufts. I read this last year, loved it so much. I read the second book early this year. One moment. Give me a moment. So yeah, I read the second book earlier this year. I DNF the second book. I kind of feel like it's just perfect as it is as I alone. Second book was just way down in quality and all that whatnot. Wasn't interested. But this book, yeah, it's just very, very good, very funny. It's, I suppose, in a way, it's kind of like geared towards, I would say, maybe 12, 13, 14-year-olds. About the first period you get, first love, or that kind of stuff. But it's also kind of like very much like kicking the patriarchy, because there's also like some blood shaming that they kind of stop in this book. So yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, and also like period in books, it's not really something you see that often, and I really like it when you have that in books. I mean, so often it's not really mentioned, but so yeah, when it's mentioned, I really enjoy it. And this one kind of tackles period and first periods quite in a nice way. So yeah, if you like witches and England and whatnot scenes, check out this book. And then we have a book I have mentioned before in a quite recent book as well, a recent video as well. But I mean, I can't not mention it. It is, surprise, surprise, Invisibility by Andrea Kramer and David Leviathan. I mean, yeah, I suppose maybe I could also be sponsored by Andrea Kramer now. Well, you might think I'm sponsored by them. I know I'm not, but I just love it so much. And yeah, like the main characters here aren't witches, but there are witches in the book, and there's magic in the book. So yeah, I'm counting it. And yeah, a delightful read. Urban fantasy set in New York. Kind of really makes you want to go to New York because it's just great uh, description of New York's streets and cities, well, cities and like the streets in New York. There's also great characters, and honestly, yeah, it's one of those books that are kind of great in every way. So yeah, check it out. Definitely check it out if you want a life-altering book, because yeah, it definitely changed my life. Then we have another book that changed my life. It is Old Magic by Miriam Curley. So this is um, the OG cover. I kind of want more books with like different covers, because I mean sometimes if you love a book you want it in different covers. But yeah, this is one I have at the moment. So and that was my a little story with this book, because you know what, take it, because it's story time. So this book I actually originally read in Norwegian. So I found it. I was 12. I had kind of at that point in time I kind of read most of the books at the local library. I've kind of also kind of grown out of a lot of books in the local library. Like I had two or three ongoing series I enjoyed, but not that many. Like there were, yeah, just a few books really that I enjoyed. I was and I couldn't really find any interesting books in a bookstore. I was kind of floundering because I was thinking like, aren't there any good books in the world? Because what? I mean, up until then I always had a variety of books that I loved and enjoyed, but at this point at 12, I kind of, yeah, I started growing out of a lot of stuff, and but I still loved reading. But like, when you don't find books that you enjoy to read, do you enjoy reading anymore? I suppose you do, but you get kind of sad at like where you are in the reading world, because you kind of feel like, are there not any good books in the world? Is the world just filled with awful bad books that or books that you don't are interested in, and you're just kind of so sad? Like because up until that point you just have had so many good books, and then suddenly it's kind of dried out. But yeah, around this time I went to a lot. Yeah, I would say a lot of flea markets, and yeah, I've always really. Actually, I've always loved books, used books, and used bookstores. I love kind of just kind of going on treasure hunt and finding old books that you kind of, I mean, because like if you go to a bookstore, chain books are like a bookstore that has new books. You normally find new books, and you find the books that everyone talks about. And I really like if you go to a used bookstore or a flea market, you find books from 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago that no one mentions because it's not really on the zeitgeist. And I kind of love finding hidden gems. And so, yeah, at one time I went to a flea market. I found Old Magic. Well, Old Magic by Marion Curley. I found it, and I really the first kind of thing that kind of sparked my interest was the cover. It wasn't this cover; it was another cover. I'll find the other cover and link it. But yeah, I the cover intrigued me, and I looked at the back, and it said about time travel and magic. And I was like, time travel, cool. So at this point in time, I hadn't really read that many time travel books, but I had like whenever I saw like time travel in movies and stuff, it's like, oh, this is fun. So yeah, I was into it. So I bought it, read it, and loved it so much, so much. I was just it opened a completely new world for me. I felt like oh yeah, there are good books out in the world. And of course, this was the first book in Marion Curley's um, kind of backlist. Backlist. I read this her book back in 2000 and I think it was 2004 or 5. It was around that time. I think it was 4. Yeah, 4. Um, and then I kind of discovered that she had more books, and yeah, just kind of reading this book made me kind of like eager to read again, and I think I kind of after that kind of understood booknet, I just kind of went around to like I found authors who uh authors who recommended like bloggers, book bloggers and stuff, and I kind of went into that kind of rabbit hole, and yeah, after this I kind of just found so many books. I started reading my habits, and I think also I don't remember quite what I think it was. Yeah, it was around this time that I kind of started to read more in English because before this I've kind of read mainly in Norwegian, but I read some books in English, for example the HP series. And then I thought like, well, I am capable of reading English, so why not? And then I kind of discovering Mary Curley, but also like discovering like why not reading English kind of just opened a whole new door for me. But yeah, so this is kind of big, important for me as like a symbol of my new reading journey. But it's also big for me in the way that the book itself it's so good. I reread it every few years, and I suppose yeah, I reread it last year and I was like, oh, this is kind of good now. But I suppose after you reread a book the 17th time, it's probably not going to be had as much importance as like the second or third time. But anyway, but yeah, I do recommend this. So like if you're in a mood for a teen book with time travel and magic and curses and yeah, all that kinds of fun stuff, check out this read and this author. Definitely check out her other books as well. Then, moment, we have a last book series. So this is a duology, so I'm going to talk about this together. So we have Charmed and oh, sorry, we have Hexed and Charmed. So this it's a witch duology. It's set in LA, so it's kind of fun uh, setting, at least for me. I feel like because I feel like all the books are all the books are either set in New York or in London. So like books are set in different places, and that, yeah, I like that. And yeah, so this one it starts kind of bang, and it starts with like a twist and like a shock and things, but then things kind of move quickly, and there's kind of like a family wishes and yeah, secret witches. I mean, of course, well, yeah, I suppose most books witches aren't really known to the world. Well, I suppose except high fantasy books. Well, anyway, yeah, this is urban fantasy, and it's just so good. But also kind of fits while like doing this video because when I'm doing it because this is actually also one of the scariest reads I've ever read. Like the first chapter, actually, yeah, the prologue, first chapter, one of those like very beginning. It's just so scary and intense. So yeah, I'll say maybe read this when there's during the daytime, not during the evening, unless you want to be really, really, really scared. I mean, I got really, really scared, and I read this during the evening because I didn't know what I was going into. But like, if you want to be a bit scared, I suppose read it during the day when it's sunny outside. At least that helps me to not be so scared. And yeah, and then there's this. That's the sequel. So Text and Charmed, and yeah, it's just a very good sequel to this prequel to this uh to this one quel to this book. And yeah, sorry, I feel like this isn't really talked about that much either, but it definitely deserves really recognition and readers. And I would say, yeah, check out this duology. Highly, highly recommend it. And yeah, that's kind of the witchy books that I kind of recommend. I suppose there are other books that I enjoy that have witches in them, but well, I suppose more like magic, but it's more like on a different level and stuff. And yeah, I would say like that's kind of the main ones really. So yeah, if you have any books that you love with witches in them, or if you have thoughts and comments on these books, please talk to me in the comments. And I hope you have a nice weekend. As you're watching this, I will be away, so I suppose I might like comment, but yeah, as you're watching this, I will be away. So I'm probably gonna be having a very nice weekend because I'll be in New York. Yeah, I'm going away. So I'm gonna pre-film some stuff, and yeah. So this is pre-filmed. Not that it matters that much, but yeah, I suppose like if these books suddenly were like have been bought for adaptation and stuff like that, I wouldn't have heard of it because it was pre-filmed. But I mean, that would be so cool. I mean, all of this would be so amazingly adapted. I mean, Invisibility by Andrea Kramer and David Leviathan was supposed to be adapted years ago. Never happened anything. So people, Hollywood, please get your act together. But yeah, and yeah, I hope you have a nice weekend, day, whatever, and I'll see you soon. Bye.